Hi, and welcome back to Football Made Simple.
Two giants of the game provided us with a classic encounter as Xavi and Ten Hag pit their tactical wits against each other in the 2-2 draw in the Europa League. The XG was in United's favour, although both sides had their chances to win this match. But what tactics did we see from Xavi and Ten Hag? In this video we take a look. And we'll begin with what Barcelona did on the ball, as they had most of it. When Barcelona had the ball deeper, they built up in a more traditional back four, with Alba and Araujo staying wider as traditional fullbacks. And United didn't want to give Barcelona's centre-backs too much time on the ball, so they looked to apply pressure whenever possible. And this was by shifting to a 4-1-4-1 for the most part, with Casemiro in behind Fred and Weghorst, who were the central midfielders. However, Fernandes didn't tend to stay wide, especially when United were pressing. And instead, he would come in more centrally, looking to press the wide centre-back, allowing Rashford to pick up the other man. If the ball was on the other side, we could see this shape shift slightly, with Sancho instead coming in off the left-hand side. But as Barcelona more frequently went through Alonso, this was the more common occurrence, and it did mean that Alba was usually the free man in these build-up situations. So Ter Stegen could go longer to Alba, and he would then have the space to push up the pitch and combine with Xavi, who often made runs with him. And the roles of Alba and Xavi were key throughout, and we'll focus on them more in just a moment. And when Barcelona was slightly higher, the pressure that United applied could actually be highly effective due to this 2 versus 2 situation. Add to that for the most part, Pedri tended to operate higher up in the midfield with a double pivot of Kessié and De Jong, who could then be picked up by Weghorst and Fred, and it became much more difficult for Barcelona to play out if Fernandes had also cut off this passing lane to Alba effectively. So if the pass to Alba was cut out and Barcelona had to play across to Araujo, he could then be pressured by Sancho, and United did win the ball in these situations a couple of times, leading to a lot of danger. And here we see that the Barcelona pivots are picked up by Weghorst and Fred, whilst Fernandes has taken up this position where he can both press the centre-back or move out to Alba. So when Kessié gets on the ball, he's immediately pressed by Weghorst and Fred is covering De Jong. This means Kessié plays a pass under pressure and Sancho, who was picking up Araujo, can then make the most of it and intercept. This then leads to a potentially dangerous situation, however there was a miscommunication. And not long after, we again see United in their midfield shape, with Casemiro patrolling the area behind the midfielders. So again, we see Araujo is wide, but Sancho once again is able to cut out that pass. And this leads to a transition, and Rashford having the shot that's well saved. But Ten Hag's positioning of Fernandes in the defensive phase was a massive risk that Xavi looked to take advantage of at every opportunity. This was firstly because Xavi was only a winger nominally on paper, and instead operated in the half spaces, and Wan-Bissaka was often drawn extremely central to pick him up. And again, this would leave Alba in acres of space down the left-hand side. So here, we see Xavi has come in central, with Pedri in the half spaces, so it's more of a midfield box. Because Wan-Bissaka is drawn towards Xavi, Alba has all the space on the left wing, due to Fernandes being higher and central. So the potential for the pass is on. So Alba could be found either by direct switches or working it through the midfield. And once he was found, Wan-Bissaka would naturally move to cover him, and Xavi would always be there to support him, either with the run beyond him or looking for the pass into feet, allowing Barcelona time to look to create an overload on that left-hand side. So once again, Wan-Bissaka and Fernandes are both fairly central, as Wan-Bissaka is on Xavi, Fernandes on Alonso, leaving Alba free. He receives the switch and Xavi is immediately looking to support him, and Xavi dummies, allowing Lewandowski to receive, leading to a decent shot. So naturally we did at times see Fernandes beginning to be more conservative when defending, looking to help prevent the 2 versus 1 against Wan-Bissaka. Barcelona anticipated this and were more aggressive in their use of Alonso, who would then look to drive the ball up the left channel, meaning that Fernandes would be forced to confront his man, again opening up that 2 versus 1 in the wide region. So Fernandes is initially a little bit deeper so that he could cover Alba. But Alonso pushing up means that Fernandes now has eyes on him, again opening up the room for Alba to make the run in behind. and he is able to receive. But it's important to note that the role of Xavi was not just limited to the half space, and he was all over the pitch, as you can see in his heat map. So where United were initially looking to be roughly man versus man in the midfield, Xavi coming central caused massive problems, as we just saw with Wan-Bissaka having to make a decision. But it also gave Barcelona much more fluidity and options in what to do during the build-up. Firstly, if Wan-Bissaka was immediately drawn wide, Xavi was now the free man between the lines who could look to receive and then turn, looking to play in men higher up the pitch. So Xavi has drifted right infield, and he is the free man, as Casemiro is on Pedri, Fred on De Jong, and Weghorst was ready to press Kessié. Again, Casemiro on Pedri, Fred and De Jong, Weghorst and Kessié. So Xavi is the free man between the lines. He is able to receive and allow Rafinha to take on his man. But Xavi's role here also allowed Barcelona to beat the press much more easily. And this was because De Jong now had a lot more freedom to drop into the backline, either between the centre-backs or off to the left-hand side. This would mean that they now had the 3 versus 2 against Rashford and Fernandes, while still maintaining a midfield 3 that could keep possession of the ball. So, if United looked to keep the pressure on that back 3, Barcelona would now have more space in the midfield. Alternatively, if a man Fernandes was not drawn to De Jong and instead chose to sit off of him, now De Jong had more space in deeper areas to try and dictate the game from deep. So here we see De Jong operating slightly deeper, and Xavi is able to maintain his position in the midfield, so that Barcelona still have a 3. So this helps, as we saw before, as now Wan-Bissaka has to move into the midfield, and there is the potential of the ball over the top to Alba. Ironically though, this shape contributes to Barcelona conceding, as De Jong drops in, splitting the centre-backs, so when a pass is intercepted, and he had moved higher up the pitch, there was more space to attack between the centre-backs. So we see De Jong was splitting the back 2, but the ball is intercepted. But he keeps pushing into the midfield, and this gap between Alonso and Koundé is now quite large, and United can exploit it. This also creates the room for Rashford to run into, and the ball to be played between the centre-backs, leading to the goal. But Barcelona also lost something when Pedri went off of the pitch and was replaced by Sergi Roberto. This is because Pedri afforded them a level of control that helped them to keep possession much more easily, even when under these high-pressure situations. Pedri was also more adventurous with his passing, whereas Roberto tended to look for the safer pass. But one advantage we did see is that Roberto was much more willing to be a runner into the half space when Rafinha got onto the ball, and that could look dangerous at times. United, though, also generally looked dangerous on the transition, as Barcelona defended with a fairly high line. And with Fernandes being high up, and Alba having advanced high up the pitch as well, when United got onto the ball, if they could find Fernandes, he would look to use his passing range to find Rashford running in behind, which led to several dangerous situations. Barcelona played fairly well in possession, but United must be given credit, as even when under pressure they still looked dangerous when pressing and on the transition, with Ten Hag showing why he's a great tactician. In part 2 of this video, coming soon, we'll examine what United did in possession and Barcelona's pressing structure, and give both managers a tactical rating.
I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, you might enjoy the content available on my Patreon. Not only does Patreon help to support the continued production of content, as I am a one-man team, but it also gives you early access to videos that will come on the channel. You'll also get exclusive videos, get to vote on polls, and so much more. And it's cheaper than ever, no longer having a tier system, so everyone on the Patreon gets access to all the content. So head over to patreon.com/footballmadesimple to check it out.